today our training session will be on Media Marshmallows, the Sweet Publicity Success Tips Part 1 with our returning special guest trainer, media exposure extraordinaire, Carrie Heaps, and she is from www.strictlymarketingmagazine.com. And Carrie also provided a phenomenal 3-part training series on this platform, and it was called The Basics of Podcasting, and you can find those in our Now On Demand section in our archives. Now, to tell you just a little bit about Carrie, Carrie is the president of Carrie's Network Incorporated, and she is also the publisher of Strictly Marketing Magazine and also the host of Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. And if you look within our show description, you can learn more about Carrie and her primary websites and also her offerings. Well, at this time, I will be turning this segment over to Carrie, and I want to welcome Carrie and thank her once again for bringing these amazing trainings to our platform, and I'm certainly excited to learn what she's going to share today. So, Carrie, welcome.
Thank you, Alicia. It's always great to share the platform with you as well. So I'm very excited about this topic I'm going to talk about today, which is media marshmallows, and like you said, sweet tips for publicity success. And in this part 1, I'm actually going to be talking about your goals, how to create a media email that sizzles, and to talk about your bio, an entrepreneur's resume, and your headshot. So these are 3 very important pieces of the part of the puzzle to gaining more media coverage. So definitely there's a lot of different information that's out there, some good, some bad, about how you should go about getting media coverage. And for most people, we don't have a press page on our website, or we don't have any type of experience with the media. We've never been covered in the media or done an interview. And hopefully this series will definitely help you get a jump start on what needs to be done. First thing I would tell everyone to do, if you have a pen and paper handy, please definitely take notes. I want to share as much valuable content with you as I can in this particular series. Your goals is the first thing I want to talk about. Everyone's goals for their business is different. So, for example, you might be a CPA and you're really wanting to, obviously the ultimate goal is to get more clients and to get more customers, and that should be a goal of every business owner. But when I talk about goals, I'm actually talking about your specific publicity goals for your business. With your goals, you need to ask yourself a couple of questions. What type of media outlets do you feel comfortable talking with or interacting with? Have you ever been interviewed on television? If you have, you might be looking at doing more TV interviews. If you've never done television before or any type of interviewing, I would tell you to start out with podcasting first, get your message down pat, start getting interviewed on the radio as well, start writing articles, and then work your way up to television coverage. So figure out what your goals are. For example, going back to our CPA example, let's just say you want to get more customers. Maybe you've just written a book, an ebook or something that you have available on Amazon in regards to setting up your business structure, some of the best ways that you can utilize your bookkeeper or internal staff to keep track of all of your transactions for tax purposes, small business accounting, something to that effect. So with that being said, that's a perfect opportunity to go out there and seek media coverage to get interviewed on those topics. So part of your goal should be at that point is to say, okay, we want to get interviewed to get coverage for the book that I just wrote. Or maybe you have a new service that was just added to your firm. Maybe it's a new software program that you are reselling to your customers and to other companies that can help them cut down on loss for inventory, for payroll expenses. It can take care of everything for HR. So if you have a new product that you have available for potential clients they would be interested in, it opens up the door to be able to talk about that specific topic. So figure out what your goals are going to be. And then you need to figure out what types of media outlets you want to target. Again, if you've never done any type of media interview before, I would suggest you start out with podcasting, get very comfortable with your message and talking about it. Even if you're an expert on a particular topic, when you get interviewed, there's always a sense of being nervous. I still get nervous. Even though I do tons of media interviews, I still kind of get those butterflies in the stomach before it's time to go live. So it's perfectly normal. But if it's your first time being interviewed, you definitely want to give it your best, do your best presentation, and how you do that is getting prepared and making sure that you have everything that you could possibly need. The host has everything that they need. So figure out what your goals are in that regard. Also, too, setting up with your goals, kind of a media timeline. We do media blitzes over a 90-day time period. You don't have to do something that intense, but you could even just say that your goal is to get interviewed twice every month for the next year. So set up an actual media goal for yourself that you can kind of keep track of with a media calendar, to schedule specific media encounters, interviews, and so forth. So figure out, what types of media you're comfortable with. What exactly are you going to be promoting? What will be the ultimate goal? And the ultimate goal should be to get coverage for, and you just kind of fill in the blank, a book you just wrote, a new product or service that you're carrying, a new sector of an area that you're covering, that you're breaking into. So you need to have that available. And then also, too, what your goals are as to how much coverage you want. My recommendation with people who are just starting out is to start out small, and you can always add to it from there. Don't set unrealistic expectations or goals for yourself in the beginning, because you only set yourself up for disappointment. The next thing that you want to do after you have your goals kind of outlined of, what type of media outlets you want to cover, what you want the outcome to be, and what types of media outlets that you want to be featured on and how often. That kind of gives you an idea of your plan. The next thing I would tell you to do is to sit down and write out 3 things. And on a scale, rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. And I want you to write out education, experience, expectation, and execution. So education, experience, expectation, and execution. And out beside it, I want you to write on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 meaning you feel that you're a novice, you're just at the beginning part of this, you don't have any experience at all, and 10 meaning you're ready to run with it tomorrow. Okay? The reason this is important is because, as I'm going to talk about these 4 little things, it really helps set the tone for what you're trying to do with your publicity. And again, not setting yourself up for failure. So the first section, education. Rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 of where you think you're at with your level of education about publicity, about what a press release is, when you would write a press release, when you should actually get a public relations firm, if and when you would need it. Your experience or your education as far as reading books about publicity, maybe taking a class or attending, some type of function where someone's talking about the art of publicity, of getting in front of the media. So rate your comfort level, your experience on a scale of 1 to 10 with the education aspect of publicity. And just write that out. The next one is going to be experience. Same thing, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 meaning you're a beginner at this, 10 meaning you're ready to run with it tomorrow. Rate your level of experience with the media, with publicity. Have you done a lot of interviews? Have you done just a few? Do you have a press page on your website? Have you worked with a public relations firm in the past? Are you working with one now? Are you trying to go out there and secure media engagements on your own? So rate on a scale of 1 to 10 what your experience level is. And by the way, folks, as you're doing this, there is no right or wrong answer or right or wrong score with this. This is just to kind of checks and balances for yourself. So it's not a quiz. It's just more for yourself. The next part is expectation. On a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate your expectations. 1 meaning you have no expectations at all, and 10 would be you're expecting to be a superstar or on the Oprah show by the end of the year. So your expectations, do you feel that your expectations are realistic? Is it something that you can accomplish with what your goals are within that certain time frame? Do you feel that you're being realistic? Do you feel like you're being realistic with the expectations that you are going to have to put time and effort into this, whether you hire someone else to do it or not? You're still responsible for dealing with the media directly. So what are your expectations? Do you feel that you have no expectations at all? 10 being you feel like you should be on Oprah at the end of the year. So see what your expectations are. And then the last part of it is execution. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to rate yourself. Again, 1 meaning that with the execution, the way that you are going to go about this and actually committing. 1 meaning you have no commitment to this process at all. You want someone else to handle it for you completely or for 90% of it. Or 10 meaning you want to execute the whole thing yourself. So with execution, do you want help? Do you feel like you need help? Do you feel like you just need a tiny bit of help? Do you feel that you're going to be able to take this and run with it the whole way? You just need a roadmap. So kind of look at the way that you want to, your ideal expectations of executing a publicity or media plan over a year time frame or whatever it is that you set up for yourself in the beginning when you're looking at your goals. Now, the reason I ask everybody to do that is because it gives you a very realistic viewpoint once you listen to this segment and then you listen to the second segment that we're going to do on publicity and kind of aligning yourself. There might be, your expectations might be way out of whack. Some people think that if they hire a company to do, all of their media bookings and do the publicity and that within a year or 2 years' time, they're going to be a celebrity, they're going to be on the Oprah show, on Good Morning America. And that's just that's a tad unrealistic. Well, let's be honest, it's very unrealistic. Media is a process. You definitely have to build up your experience. So your expectations might be a little bit out of line. And what you can kind of write out to the side to it is that once you have listened to this particular segment and you listen to the second part, go back and look at this, and you might want to readjust those numbers that you wrote in. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just to help keep you in line for what you're thinking and what reality could be and what's really going to happen, okay? So that's something that you can go back and take a look at, those 4 particular aspects of it. So now you have your goals set. You decided, you just want to do podcasts, or you would really like to do some podcasts, and you've written the book, so you feel comfortable writing, so you want to write some articles too, and you want to kind of start with a couple of different types of media that you feel comfortable approaching. So your next step is you need to kind of put together your bio, okay, your bio and your headshot. Now, your bio as an entrepreneur, it's your resume. It's your calling card. It's the reason you want people to read it and think, I want to do business with this person. It has all of your accolades on it, where you've spoken, the great things you've done during your career or during having your business, and, any wonderful interviews or things that you may have done in the past, whether it's you've interviewed some celebrities, whatever the case may be. Those are things that you want to put in your bio. And your bio, also keep in mind that you're going to consistently be updating your bio. So you're always going to be adding to it or subtracting from it, whatever the case may be. It's just like your resume when you're out there looking for work. You always want to have it as up-to-date and fresh as possible. So you want to take a look at your bio. You don't want something that's over a page long. You want to keep it short and sweet and have just all of the greatest things that you have done that people would be impressed with. That's what you want in your bio. You want a little bit about your experience, about maybe your education's in there, some of the different companies you may have worked at or some of your clients include, and you can just kind of start listing some Fortune 500 companies. Whatever the case may be with your bio and with your experience, that's what you want to put on there. So if the last time, if your bio needs a facelift, and a good rule of thumb is you should be updating it every 2 to 3 months. That seems like a lot, but even if you just pull your bio out, you take it off your website, you look at it, and just do a couple of edits or maybe throw something else in there new that you have done, you want to keep it as up-to-date as possible. Again, your bio is something as well with media exposure. You're going to have to submit your bio. Usually you want to have a long bio, which would be about a page long, and then you want to have a short bio as well, because you're going to have some media outlets that will ask you for a short bio, meaning that it's maybe a paragraph at the most or a couple of sentences. So I always tell people have both, and have your long bio on your website. That's the one you want to constantly update, and have a shorter one, like a shorter version of that as well. And if you feel like you need an extra set of eyes or someone else to take a look at it, you could always ask a colleague or someone else around you that's a professional to take a look at it. I would recommend don't have a staffing agency or somebody who hires people for a living to look at it, because they look for different things, and they'll look at it based upon if somebody applied for a job as a resume, and that's not what this is. It's something different. It's an entrepreneur's resume, so it's definitely different. The other thing you need to have with your bio is a really good headshot. Now, when I talk about headshots, look around in your local area. Typically, a photographer will charge anywhere from $75 to $250 to do a set, just to have you do a set of headshots, 24 exposures. You're going to get one good photo out of that you can use on your bio. You can put it on your website, put it on your business cards, all of your other marketing material. And it's not something that, you have to look like a supermodel or glamour shots, but a good, nice, really good professional headshot. Men should be dressed in a suit and tie, or, something, maybe a jacket or blazer. You definitely want to look your best. Women should be wearing, the right colors. If you've never had a color analysis, I suggest you go and have that done. It's invaluable because you want people to notice you, not the clothes you're wearing. You want those colors to pop and have their eyes immediately go to your face. So wear makeup, but not a lot of makeup. You can have your hair done, but don't do anything over the top. So just a good, clear headshot, or even, just a half-body shot would work too. Have something that's high resolution, at least 300 DPI. Why does it need to be like that? Well, when you are based in the media, if they're doing a story on you, and especially if it's a cover story where you're going to be on the cover of a magazine and they want to use your headshot, if it's anything lower than 300 DPI, it's going to come out pixelated. So you want something that is going to really, come through clear, whether it's on a website or on a podcast page or it's in print media. So 300 DPI is the best way to go.
This is just wonderful.
Yes, thank you, Alicia. And I was just going to mention, too, with the photo, you definitely want to make sure it's something that is not, something that at a picnic, company picnic, or it's a selfie. You want to have a professional photo shoot, professional photo shot done for your bio. It's inevitable. And you will be asked for that. If you are featured or interviewed by the media, they are going to ask you for that, no doubt. So you definitely want to make sure that you've got that available for them to take advantage of, okay? And I'm sorry about that. I think I hit my mute button by accident, so I probably phased out for a moment. Okay, so once you have your goals in line, and then you have your headshot and your bio all ready to go, the next thing that you're going to start working on is an email. And it's just kind of a shell email, and we're going to talk about this too in part 2 as well. But the email, anymore with media exposure, media pitches or submitting your information to get interviewed, it's done through email. 98.9% of it is done through email. There's very few that will ask you to call in and talk to them or will ask for a call-in pitch. I'm not saying it won't happen, but most of this is done via email. So you want to have a nice shell email that you can use and customize for your particular, whatever outlet it is, whether it's a print outlet or an outlet that is a magazine, online, or a podcast. So what needs to be included in this shell email? You need to have a brief introduction, that you would like to be considered for, maybe the podcast interview, or you want to be considered to be interviewed for a feature interview for a magazine, a little bit about you in a second paragraph. That's where that short bio is going to also come in handy, just a little bit about you. If they want more information, they're going to ask for it, but just a little bit about you, just a couple of sentences to fill up one little paragraph. The next thing that you want to have in there as well is that if you've already done a media interview, whether it's a podcast or you've written a couple of articles, have a link to put in there and say, if for example, if it's a podcast or a radio interview, they want to hear your voice before they agree to have you come on the air. So if you already have a podcast interview done, have a link to it and say, here's a sample of a radio or podcast interview that I did previously. Feel free to take a look and listen to it, and have a link in the email so they can click on that and go directly to the link and read your article or watch your video or listen to the podcast interview that you did. That will be a huge factor with a lot of different media outlets, especially radio and podcasters, because if they don't have the capability to hear your voice, they're probably not even going to respond to the email. So those are a couple of things that you need to have within the shell of the email. Just a little bit about you, your resume, your short bio, I should say, your short bio, kind of an introduction paragraph that, you'd like to be considered for a guest interview or to guest post, whatever the case may be. Again, this is all going to be very customizable, so you want to make sure that those are some of the main things that are in there. The closing part of the email, you also want to include how you are going to promote if you're chosen as a guest, how you're going to promote the podcast episode, the radio show, the blog post or the magazine article, and list those out. We plan on, if we're chosen for a podcast interview, we will promote it through our email newsletter, on our the press section of our website, and all of the social media outlets that we're on with Facebook, Twitter, and just kind of list those out so that way they know if they chose you that those are some alternative publicity methods that they have available. Some people who are listening might think, I shouldn't have to promote the episode at all because it's public relations and I shouldn't have to do anything. That is so wrong, it's not even funny. Part of the reason you want to promote that, if you don't promote it, the only person you hurt in the long run is you, and you hurt yourself on two different levels. Number one, no one will really know, on your end that you've written an article or that you were interviewed, so they can't benefit from the knowledge that you're sharing. And then it also hurts you on the flip side because 9 times out of 10, people get asked back for second interviews or writing second articles because they talk about promoting, and they actually do it. They follow through on what they're going to do. So it can hurt you in a lot of different ways. And, you have to look at it this way. If your information of what you're sharing is that valuable and you can help other people, why wouldn't you want to share it? Why wouldn't you want to tell people about it? So it is part of the process, and it's definitely, as a guest or guest post or contributor, it is your responsibility to promote that piece. So it's just part of the puzzle, and you need to let them know how you are planning on doing that. So those are a couple of things that are going to go into that particular shell email that you need to have. And the rest of it's going to be more customized, and it's also going to include some sample topics, which we're going to talk about in part 2 as well. So just to kind of do a quick recap, we've talked about your goals, what your goals are going to be for the media exposure. Figuring out, what your expectations are, what your education and experience level is with publicity, and, execution, how you feel like you are going to plan the execution of this, media blitz or this, this year of doing media coverage. So you definitely want to take a look at your goals and figure out what it is that you want to do. If it's just podcasting, interviews to get your feet wet, that's a great way to start. Or if you want to do that and write some articles, that's great too. There's no right or wrong answer, and no two answers are ever the same. So you have to do what's right for you and what you feel comfortable with. Second part, you're going to work on that bio. Make sure it's a top-rate bio. Your entrepreneur's resume needs to be in top-notch. Reviewing that every 2 to 3 months would be great. and then having an awesome headshot or half body shot to go with that. Black and white or color, either one is good, and definitely have that available and have that embedded into your bio if you can. That's the best way to do it. So, and having something high resolution, 300 dpi or higher. So if you don't have a good headshot, you've just been using a selfie or something that was taken at a company picnic and there's 3 other people with you, get rid of that, get yourself a professional headshot. So look around in your area, shop around, find a really good photographer that can do some headshots for you. You just need one. Just one good headshot. That's all you need. So those are the first 3 things, the first 3 pieces of this puzzle we're talking about, and some great media marshmallows here for you to digest. And we're going to be doing part 2, and we're going to be talking about creating topics that get attention, sample questions to go with that topic, and creating a summary for each one. And then talking about promoting your media encounters the right way and customizing your process of how you do that and finding media outlets. So we're going to talk about all that in part 2. So we hope you can join us for the next segment. And as always, I am wishing you continued success.